West Virginia on Halloween often felt like a step back in time, its rural charm overshadowed by the towering, formidable stone structure of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Once a beacon of humanitarian psychiatric care, its history soon devolved into one of overcrowding, brutality, and unspeakable suffering, leaving behind a legacy of hauntings that drew paranormal enthusiasts from across the globe. For Dr. Sera Thorne, a compassionate but deeply analytical forensic psychiatrist specializing in criminal madness, this Halloween was more than a morbid curiosity. It was a personal pilgrimage. She had gained exclusive overnight access to the asylum's most infamous ward, Ward 4, the violent male patients. Convinced that the reported aggressive hauntings and residual energies were merely the desperate echoes of severe mental illness, amplified by the building's oppressive atmosphere rather than true spectral entities. Her objective: to establish a psychological profile of the hauntings, aiming to provide a therapeutic understanding of the tormented past, or if nothing manifested, to offer a final, empathetic closure to the victims' stories. Sera, whose calm demeanor masked a profound empathy for the human mind, dismissed the endless anecdotes of spectral doctors and screaming patients as sensationalist narratives. She believed in the power of the human psyche, even in its most broken state, to leave an indelible mark on a place. Her team consisted of 2 graduate students, Chloe and Liam, both bright but visibly unnerved by the asylum's grim reputation. They arrived on the evening of October 31st, the crisp West Virginian air carrying the scent of pine needles, damp earth, and something faintly metallic, like old blood and forgotten medications. The asylum's colossal Gothic Revival facade, with its imposing clock tower and countless barred windows, seemed to glower under the bruised purple and ominous orange twilight sky. A scattering of carved pumpkins, their glowing orange faces contorted into menacing grimaces, adorned the main entrance and some windowsills. A festive gesture by the asylum's historical society, but their light seemed to pulsate with an unnerving, almost sentient intensity in the deepening gloom. Their designated study area was the notorious Ward 4, a long, decaying corridor lined with tiny, stripped cells, each a testament to the asylum's brutal past. This ward was the epicenter of the asylum's most aggressive claims, famous for sudden physical assaults, disembodied cries, and the inexplicable feeling of being choked or restrained. Sera meticulously set up her specialized equipment, EEG monitors, to detect brainwave activity, if any non-human source, highly sensitive audio recorders, thermal cameras, and electromagnetic field, EMF detectors, hoping to capture any subtle environmental or psychic anomalies. A single battery-operated jack-o'-lantern, its orange LED flickering steadily, sat on a nearby rusty metal bed frame, a practical light source among the sophisticated gadgets, and a defiant symbol against the ward's grim history. Hours passed. The initial data was frustratingly inconclusive. EEG monitors registered only their own brainwaves. Audio recorders picked up nothing but the drip of water and the distant creaking of the old building. Thermal cameras registered no unusual heat signatures, and EMF detectors remained silent. Sera, her voice calm and analytical, began her video log, a hint of professional satisfaction in her tone. As expected, she stated, adjusting her glasses, Ward 4, despite its notorious reputation, presents no evidence of genuine supernatural activity. The asylum's hauntings, in all likelihood, are fascinating psychological echoes, a testament to its brutal history, but not active entities. But as the clock's ancient chimes echoed midnight, marking the shift to All Hallows Day, a profound and undeniable shift occurred. The temperature in Ward 4 plummeted so rapidly that Sera could see her breath. Her thermal camera flared with an icy blue, confirming the inexplicable drop. Then her EMF detector, previously dormant, screamed to life, its red lights flashing violently, registering a massive electromagnetic surge emanating from the very end of the corridor. Where the padded cells lay, a faint, rhythmic scraping sound, like restraints dragging on stone, began to emanate from the darkest cell at the end of Ward 4. It wasn't loud, but it was insistent, rhythmic, growing in intensity. Sera froze, her scientific composure utterly shattered by a primal wave of fear. This was not a mechanical anomaly. This was intelligent. This was active. Is anyone here? Sera whispered, her voice tight with a fear she hadn't anticipated. The scraping stopped abruptly. A guttural moan, low and laden with profound agony and ancient malevolence, filled the ward, echoing from all directions as if coming from the very stone itself. It was the sound of unspeakable suffering centuries old. Then from the absolute darkness of the last cell, a shimmering, translucent figure began to coalesce. It was indistinct at first, like swirling smoke, but slowly, horrifyingly, it began to take the shape of a man. His features were gaunt, his eyes hollow pits of despair, yet burning with an intense, pulsating orange light. His body was clad in tattered spectral asylum garb, his wrists and ankles bearing the phantom marks of restraints. His presence radiated an overwhelming aura of ancient evil, profound madness, and predatory intent. This was not a residual haunting. This was an intelligent entity, a revenant. Silas Blackwood, the last patient, a man driven to unspeakable acts of violence and madness, who died in that very cell, his spirit forever bound by his torment and a dark, forgotten pact. And he was here. Sera's academic detachment dissolved completely. This was real, terrifyingly, impossibly real. Silas, Sera stammered, clutching her recording device. The last patient. The spectral Silas did not speak. Instead, a torrent of vivid, horrifying images flooded Sera's mind. 19th century Trans-Allegheny, a time of crude psychiatric understanding, brutal treatments, and rampant abuse. She saw Silas not as a mere patient, but as a man whose severe mental illness was slowly consumed by an ancient, parasitic entity bound within the asylum's foundations. The asylum itself was not just a hospital. It was its prison, its feeding ground. The extreme suffering of the patients, especially the violent ones, served as a macabre fuel for the entity, allowing it to grow, to manifest, to find new hosts. The entity sought to culminate its harvest on Halloween night, to solidify its physical manifestation through a grand, final transformation, ushering in an age of madness and terror. The pumpkins outside, Sera realized, were not just festive. They were unintended beacons, their orange glow mirroring Silas's malevolent eyes. Drawing his attention to the surface, the images clarified a horrifying truth. Silas Blackwood was merely a conduit, his madness exploited by an unimaginable occult entity. The parasitic entity, an ancient force of psychological torment, was the true power behind the asylum's legends, bound to its walls, and on Halloween, its hunger was at its apex, demanding not just suffering, but a complete forfeiture of sanity, a mind, a soul, to become its permanent conduit. And Sera's empathetic, analytical mind, which had delved so deeply into its domain, made her the perfect vessel for its eternal madness. Ward 4 grew colder, thicker with unseen presences. Sera felt phantom hands, bony and icy, pulling at her clothes, tearing at her skin. Chloe and Liam huddled together, whimpering. The EMF detector screamed, its red lights a blinding, ceaseless red. The whispers, a cacophony of ancient chants and guttural demands for madness, filled her mind. Madness, madness. Join us, served the shadow. Eternal torment. The spectral Silas glided closer, his hollow orange eyes fixed on Sera. His translucent hand, bearing the phantom marks of restraints, reached out not for her throat, but for her mind, seeking to transfer the unending burden of his profound madness and the entity's parasitic grasp. Become one of us, his silent voice echoed in Sera's thoughts. Witness the true madness, unleash the torment, Sera, caught between terror and a sudden profound understanding, fought against the mental intrusion. She recalled an obscure passage from an old West Virginia folklore book, dismissed as a meaningless fragment, a symbol of the healing hearth, an ancient Appalachian glyph that, if invoked with genuine compassion and a pure intention to bring peace, could temporarily disrupt the parasitic entity's hold on its host, forcing it to retreat to its dimension. The glyph, a stylized hearth fire surrounded by protective mountain laurel, was believed to be effective only on Samhain, when the veil was thinnest, and if dedicated to an act of genuine empathy and defiance against overwhelming evil. With a desperate surge of adrenaline, Sera broke free from the mental hold. "No!" she gasped, forcing the word out, her voice echoing through the ward.
"I will not be your patient.
"I will not serve your madness." She began frantically drawing the healing hearth glyph on the dusty stone floor with her finger, recalling every detail from the folklore book. Chloe, despite her terror, saw his desperate effort and, remembering a similar diagram from an old Appalachian craft book, instinctively helped her complete the intricate pattern. Liam, though still trembling, focused the portable spotlight on the glyph, amplifying its presence. The phantom hand still tugged, but less with malevolence, more with a desperate pleading urgency for completion of the ritual. As the glyph was completed, it pulsed with a faint, shimmering golden light, starkly contrasting with the dominant orange. The spectral Silas roared, a sound of ancient fury, his form flickering violently. The orange glow in his eyes wavered, replaced by a momentary flash of frustration, then pure, unadulterated hatred. Silas lunged, but as he crossed the boundary of the glowing glyph, his form distorted, shimmering violently as if struggling against an invisible barrier. The ancient chants and whispers ceased abruptly. The surrounding shadowy figures, the remnants of the entity's influence, recoiled, their orange glows dimming to nothing. Sera, seizing the moment, remembered another detail from the folklore. The entity's ultimate weakness was exposure to raw, untamed sounds of peace and healing, sounds that mirrored its consumed victim's innocent hope, not the screams of madness it preferred. She looked at her small LED-lit pumpkin, still flickering on the rusty bed frame. It was a simple, harmless object, but now it felt like a conduit for a different kind of power. With a desperate prayer for the innocent patients, Sera grabbed the pumpkin. "This is not your asylum, demon," she screamed, her voice ringing with defiance. "This is the sanctuary for their stolen sanity, the sound of their lost hope." She hurled the glowing pumpkin towards Silas. The pumpkin struck the spectral form, not with force, but with a sudden, blinding burst of pure golden light, accompanied by the ethereal, soothing sound of a lullaby. Silas convulsed violently, letting out a final, ear-splitting shriek that tore through the asylum, a sound of ancient pain and absolute defeat. His terrifying form dissolved into shimmering golden particles that drifted upwards through the ancient stone ceiling, ascending into an unseen ethereal light finally banished from the physical realm. The ward returned to its chilling stillness, but the oppressive malevolence was gone. The EMF detector fell silent, the temperature normalized. The pervasive scent of decay vanished, replaced by a faint, clean smell of pine and something akin to fresh, hopeful air. Emerging from the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum at dawn, Sera Thorne was a changed woman. Her analytical mind was utterly shattered, replaced by a profound conviction in the existence of something far older and more terrifying than human madness. Her psychiatric quest had led her to a spiritual confrontation and, unexpectedly, to a victory over an ancient malevolence. She never again sought to simply record. She sought to heal, to understand, and to protect. Her video log, initially a quest for scientific debunking, became a testament to a genuine encounter with the supernatural, watched by thousands. She never returned to purely debunking haunted locations. Instead, working with Chloe and Liam, and with the support of the asylum's historical society, she used her platform to advocate for the respectful preservation of such sites, recognizing their potent living history. She published The Healing Hearth, Silas Blackwood, and the Shadow of Trans-Allegheny, detailing not just the historical context of the asylum, but her terrifying encounter, the true nature of the parasitic entity, and the ritual that bound it. From that Halloween forward, the grim legends of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum began to shift. Fewer aggressive hauntings were reported. Visitors spoke of a palpable sense of peace in Ward 4, a subtle presence, but no longer one of malevolence. The entity was banished. Silas's spirit finally found its release, and Dr. Sera Thorne, the once analytical forensic psychiatrist, became an unlikely guardian of West Virginia's spectral history, ensuring that on every Halloween, the chilling tale of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum was remembered, not as a mere historical curiosity, but as a poignant narrative of ancient evil confronted and finally a hard-won peace. The jack-o'-lantern outside the asylum became a permanent fixture, always lit, a silent vigil against the shadows, its orange glow a beacon of hope for the whispering pines and the tormented souls within.